Okay, in the spirit of full disclosure, I'm kind of blown away right now. So we completed our retreat, Freedom from Chronic Pain, a mind-body approach. That was last week at the Omega Institute, and I'm sure if you guys are fans of the podcast, you've been hearing me describe it and talk about it for several months now. And so it finally came to pass, and it was last week, and I had all sorts of plans for it, which we're going to talk about. And then we got home. We got home late Friday night, and we had the weekend to kind of integrate back into life and take in what had just happened. And now I'm starting to read the emails that are rolling in from the participants, and I am pretty floored because I realized that what we were creating was important, but I didn't realize, I think, quite the impact it had on the people who joined us. And if anybody is interested at all to read some of these impressions, because I'm not quite sure yet how I'm going to use the testimonials that I'm receiving, I'm going to be thoughtful about it. You can hop over to Instagram. My Instagram handle is @njsachs. Follow me on Instagram. I've got a lot of cool content, informative content that I'm always putting out there. So you can follow me on Instagram, and you can read the comments on my post about Omega, which is a large picture of the whole group of us, about 50 of us all together. Or you can go and join my JOURNALSPEAK page, which is a closed group on Facebook, dedicated community to discussing my work, which is called JOURNALSPEAK with Nicole Sachs, LCSW on Facebook. So if you can click and ask to join, I can include you in that amazing supportive community and conversation. So if you're interested in what I'm talking about, if you want some context, as you're listening to the pod, you can just click over to one of those two places and see what people are saying. And I'm kind of blown away because, you don't always know. I've been doing this work for over 25 years, both in my own body and then with private clients. And then once I wrote the book and I started to promote the book and travel and teach at different people's retreats and guest instruct in different festivals and retreats all over the country, I have seen the impact of the work for so long that I think I don't know if I underestimated or I just didn't estimate what was going to happen at Omega when we were all together for 5 whole days doing this work and creating a community. But what happened was just next level. It was so off the charts. People are writing me things that sound like hyperbole, but they're not. Things like, my week was nothing short of a miracle. I've never felt whole in my entire life until this week. And these are people who have lived a life. So it's just kind of blowing me away. And I think I need to let it integrate a little bit more to figure out how best to share those comments with everybody out there, because, I want this for everybody. Not everyone in the world is going to be able to come to a retreat that I run. I get that. And I don't want people to feel left out. But I do want it to inspire hope in you. Because what we're going to talk about today, which is the power and the magic of community, is not only achieved through a retreat. A retreat is like community on steroids. It's just amazing. Just the energy and the power of understanding that we are not alone, that we are a group of powerful, badass men and women who are fighting this good fight and are going to be completely well. Being in a room of 50 people doing that for a week, that's incredibly powerful, which I'm understanding the depth of that today. But it's possible for every single one of you listening to this podcast, because the community that is possible with the advent of the internet and YouTube and podcasts and Facebook groups, the closed groups where we can have, an integrated community that isn't, it's not someplace that just anyone could come. It's a group of people who are like-minded and doing the work. Because that exists, it's available for you anywhere. So, I guess what I want to talk about today when it comes to community is I want to talk about the power of knowing that you are not alone, not only that you're not alone, but that you're not weird or different or stupid or too sensitive or over the top or too much or a whiner or a complainer or making it up or too dramatic or all the things that I hear people with chronic pain being accused of, or maybe in their own minds thinking that they're being accused of. And you're not any of those things. You're just a suffering human. You're just a person who is trying to overcome something that feels insurmountable and you don't know what to do. And as we always discuss on this podcast, chronic pain is an epidemic of fear. So when we start living in fear, and that fear begets fear, and that fear begets meaning, and that meaning leads to, I'm scared I'm not going to be able to do this, or I'm going to miss that business trip, or I'm not going to be at my son's baseball game, or I'm not going to be at my daughter's dance recital, or I'll never be able to fulfill that work obligation, or I'm not able to have sex, or I'm not able to go on fun adventures with my partner. I'm not fun anymore. I'm not interesting anymore. When we start getting into that spiral of fear and meaning, life can feel like it's not worth living. It can feel meaningless and it can feel hopeless. And what I am here to do is to press the big fat pause button on all of that and tell you there is another way. There is another way to heal. There is another way to live. And that's what we discuss here on this podcast and what I teach in my work. So I don't even think I introduced myself yet. So just in case this is your first time stumbling upon my podcast, my name is Nicole Sachs. LCSW. This is my podcast, The Cure for Chronic Pain, and we're here every Friday exploring the work that I do, exploring the concept of JOURNALSPEAK, which will free you and free your body from holding all of the symptoms associated with myriad chronic pain illnesses and conditions, symptoms associated with many different conditions that are considered possible to treat but not cure. And so I'm here to say that things like migraines, fibromyalgia, neck, back, shoulder, knee, hip, foot, ankle pain, irritable bowel disease, different disorders of the skin, pelvic pain, different symptoms of autoimmune disease, these things can be lessened and sometimes completely eliminated with the work that I teach. And that depends on if you are open to believing and doing the work and practicing patience and kindness and acceptance for yourself. But you know what? You can do it, and I teach it all. And, go to The Cure for Chronic Pain and check out all my work and all my links on the resources page if you are new. If you are not new, you are probably here to find out how Omega went. Because I know that I've done a lot of talking about it and promoting it and teasing it and telling you guys, come, take the chance, come to the first retreat that I'll ever lead. And 42 of you did. So, and we had a bunch of guest instructors, and we had Trevor, our fantastic AV guy. So there were about 50 of us in the community last week, and that was a really nice number. It was small enough that we could still keep it personal, which as they grow, I will be very, very conscious of continuing to do. But it was large enough that it really felt powerful. It really felt the power of the group and the power of the creation of community. So I'm here to talk about, I'll be back, obviously, talking about a lot of this, but I really want to focus today on the concept of community because I think in the emails I'm getting from people, the community was a surprise. People expected to come and learn about my work. They expected to come and learn about how to use mind-body medicine to heal from chronic pain. They expected to dive deeper into JournalSpeak and to learn in person with me because, as a lot of you guys know, I don't take private clients anymore because I'm working on bringing this message to the global community. And so this was the way to work with me in person. So they came to do that. But I don't think they knew that they were coming to enter into a community of vulnerable, real, amazing, powerful, courageous warriors. And I knew. You guys didn't know, but I knew. And But even knowing, as I did, I think I'm still blown out of the water with exactly how powerful it ended up being. So on the first day of the retreat, when I got on stage and I was talking about, the work and what we were going to do throughout the course of the week, I explained that I had two major intentions for the week. The first was to teach you guys all my work to the depths of my knowledge that I could possibly find words to express, and to expose you to these amazing guest instructors that I had gathered in my world. And I'll just call them out so they get their shout outs: Athena Allred and Erin Chavone from, I'm going to say it right, Erin, Lanikai Wellness, which is in my town. We are blessed to have such a beautiful healing space here in Lewis, Delaware. In addition, Lisa Schlossberg, who is just recently LMSW and bringing amazing perspective on her expertise, which is disordered eating, but also carrying her message of how she recovered and how she's used JournalSpeak in her life with her IBS, and also just being a light and an energy of great proportion to bring her healing and her message. Then there was Caroline Dewey, who's also an LMSW, who did amazing work with somatic experiencing our bodies through art and through movement, which was really powerful. And then, of course, there was the incredible Ruthie Lindsay, who came to share her story of recovery and healing, and the fact that she's doing this work as well. And for the first time in 15 years, her pain is going down. So it was just, and if anyone knows about Ruthie's story, check out Ruthie Lindsay at ruthielindsay.com, because she has an incredible, amazing story that she's still alive, and the fact that she's lived with chronic pain all these years, and this work is the first thing that has reduced her pain ever in her life, and it's on its way to being gone as she continues to do the work. So it was an amazing group. It was really it was a community of instructors. So I brought together a community of instructors, and I told everybody on the first day, we were all here to teach you from our hearts to yours everything we knew about how to connect with your body, how to go deeper into meditation, deeper into JournalSpeak, figure out yourself on ways that you didn't even know you needed to figure out, that kind of stuff. But then I said, equal to that intention was my intention of creating community. And I actually think, now that I'm getting all these emails back, people didn't know that that was going to happen. And I said to them, and I'm going to leave a few secrets for everyone who's going to come back next year and everyone new who's going to join us, about how we do that. But I explained to them, I'm going to teach you guys that you are not alone, and we're going to all be in this together this week. And I had certain exercises to create this community. And it's kind of like when you're trying to make a fire and you have a little kindling and maybe a little newspaper, you have a match or two, and you think, this could basically be a nice fire. And you strike the match to the kindling and to the newspaper, and it's like, whoosh! Dude, they created this community that was next level. It was insane. I'm walking around Omega, and I'm watching them. I'm watching them connect and laugh. I'm watching them hold each other and cry. I'm watching them in the very specific exercise we do every afternoon called Circle, bare their souls. And I know this probably sounds a little scary to you, like, oh God, I don't want to laugh and cry with other strangers and bare my soul. You don't have to if you don't want to. But I promise you, you're going to want to. Because the kind of emails that I'm getting back from people are showing me that I was right, and that community is just as important as information, because we need each other to heal. Human beings are pack animals. We're pack animals. We need each other. We need community. We need each other to survive. We need each other to thrive. And sometimes when we're sick, or we're in this, society of technology where we can hide behind a screen, we just decide that we're okay. We have enough connection. I email a few people, and I go to work and I see people there. We don't realize the power of really deep connected community. And what I saw this week was people who are lifting each other up, people who are able to share parts of themselves that maybe they never have been before in their whole lives. And, not everybody was extroverted. I had a good percentage of my group that was introverted and didn't speak much out loud, but they were getting it in little bits, in the smaller groups, in the off time, in the meals, in the cafe, taking walks around the property, going on hikes, being in this amazing, beautiful, healing environment. They were getting it. And by the end, it was truly a family. The kind of found family that it's hard to put words to, because it doesn't have that kind of dysfunction of years of resentment. And, it was just pure. It was pure love and support and caring for one another. And so in the emails I'm getting, it's not just thank you for the information. And it is. I mean, trust me, it's that. I have people telling me that for, 20 years, their pain has been at a level 8. And after the second day, it was at a 2, and it hasn't gone back up. And they have true hope for the future that they've never had before in their lives. So I'm definitely getting a lot of that. But I'm also getting an equal amount of, oh my goodness, I had no idea how alone I felt. I had no idea how important community was. I had no idea how I needed to connect with other people that were going through exactly what I'm going through. So here's what I'll say to everybody out there that is hearing this and saying, well, how do I put this into action for me? The first thing I think you need to do is I think you need to have the intention. I think you have to have the mindfulness that community is necessary. Because I think so many of us think, I'm fine, I'll get by, I'm okay, I'm fine. Like, the F word. I always call fine the F word, because you're not fine. And anybody who says they're fine is usually hiding behind the word fine and really hurting back there. And you don't need to do that. So the first thing is mindfulness, to realize, you know what, actually, I'm hearing what Nicole's saying. It is important to have community. It is important to feel supported. It is important to open my mouth and to speak and to find that voice. So the first thing you need to do is just recognize and acknowledge that it is important. And the second thing is reach out. As I said, I have a closed Facebook group on Facebook. It's a Facebook group. And it is a group of people that are supporting each other in a way that I don't have time to write everyone back. And they're listening to my work, and they're carrying the message. They're supporting each other. They're posting, and they're writing back and commenting on each other's posts. And although that's just online, sometimes online is the best we can get for the moment. People are housebound. People are in all different parts of the world. I know this podcast gets listens from, I think it's like over 100 countries around the world. So, that we're everywhere. We're spread out all over the place. And the internet is one beautiful way that connects us. Technology is kind of a double-edged sword. It keeps us separate, but it also gives us a lot of opportunity for connection. So I would say definitely taking advantage of that, of joining the community, of being part of the message. Another thing is, like Brene Brown says, we are most powerful when we're operating in our own vulnerability. So one way to establish community for yourself is to share of yourself. So when you're in your world and somebody says, how are you? Somebody really cares about you, say, you know what? I'm actually not great. I would really love to really talk, to really tell you who I am and what I'm going through. Because you never know what that person is struggling with. And maybe that person would be so relieved that you just got real, because then they're able to be real. When each of us is real, we invite others to be real with us, which is such a gift. So there's that. There's also be open to, maybe there are support groups in your area, in your church, in your temple, in your community centers. Maybe there are support groups for different things that you're going through. Maybe you're grieving a loss. Maybe there's a grief group that you were like, I don't know if I need that. Let me tell you, you need that. You need people. You need to find your people. And even if you go to the grief group and you meet one person that you're like, oh man, she gets me, then that's enough. That's worthwhile. And there's all sorts of different support groups. If you're struggling with any sort of addiction, AA, my God, it's a beautiful thing. If you ever were raised in dysfunction, which hello, all of us, there's ACOA, which is Adult Children of Alcoholics, but that's also Adult Children of Dysfunctional Families, or Al-Anon, which is for people who have lived with any sort of addiction in their family or friends, which is also almost every one of us has been touched by addiction in some way. And Al-Anon doesn't end up helping you with the person who's addicted in your life. It helps you with yourself. It helps you connect with other people that are also hurting, but are also inspiring each other. And, I'm not here to promote any one way to connect with community. I guess it's just that after seeing what went on at Omega, I felt it necessary to come on and talk about community because the power of it is striking. And when we kind of brush it aside as, well, I'm getting by, so I don't need that, we really cheat ourselves of a powerful part of society that is here to help us, which is other people, which is other people in the same boat as us, or other people who are further up the mountain than us that are happy to come back and put their hand out and say, hey, guess what? I see that you're hurting. Come with me. I'm with you. You do not have to do this alone. I remember when I first wrote my book. No, even before my book. I remember when I was first in practice and I was thinking about writing my book. My mom said to me, how are you going to do in a book what you do for your clients when you look them in the eye and you're like, I see you. You are not alone. And I said, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to figure out how to do that in a book. And you know what? A lot of people tell me I have. I tried as much as you can try in a book, but the way I did it was I just wrote in my most authentic voice, which, spoiler alert, is the only voice I have. But I wrote in that most authentic voice, which is, I have lived this work because I've had severe spinal condition, diagnosed my whole life with it, told I would never have children, told I would never exercise or travel or play sports or do any of the things that made me joyful, and I have overcome every single one of those things. I exercised until the day all 3 of my beautiful babies were born, who are now teenagers and sometimes driving me crazy, but it's such a joy. It's a joy, and it's a joy and it's sorrow and it's all the things, but it's life and it's what I signed up for and it's what I want. And so I've been, when I speak in that authentic voice, I speak as a patient, I speak as a survivor, I speak as a psychotherapist, I speak as an author and a speaker and a person who has met thousands of you guys around the world. And I know that it's possible, seeing the most extreme low bottom cases of chronic pain recover completely by doing this mind-body work. And I just spoke to it in the book, and I feel like that's the way we have to speak to connect. Just authentically lay down your weapon of fear and show up as yourself. The power of it is extraordinary. And as I'm hearing back from all these people who have been at the retreat and the power of that kind of authenticity, it's a little hard for me to take in this much praise, just because, we all kind of have a little bit of a wall up against so much praise, I think. It's a little tough. But what people are saying more than anything is, Nicole, your authentic humanity is what really shifted it for me. It's what allowed me to invite myself in to this experience. And I think about my mentors, my virtual mentors, the people out there that have shaped my message. Oprah, Brene Brown, Glennon Doyle, people who have shown up exactly as themselves, unafraid, warts and all, to be the person that they are in order to inspire other people to be themselves as well. That's what I strive for. And if you can come into that space and then invite in community for yourself, the healing is exponential. It really starts taking you on, it's like a toboggan ride, like when you're a little kid and you get on a slide and you're kind of nudging it forward and it's nudging it forward, and then all of a sudden it starts just gliding down the hill, and your hair flying back and the wind in your face, that awesome feeling. That's what starts happening to your healing as you invite in community. And that's what I really learned this week at Omega. I learned that my intentions were correct, and that when you create community hand in hand with giving people information that they need, the word miracle doesn't sound like hyperbole, it sounds like truth. So So that's kind of my first impression. That I'm going to probably be sharing a lot of other impressions. I hope I don't bore you too much with the Omega talk. Like I said, it's not like a retreat is the end all be all for every person, but it had a profound effect on me, and it had a profound effect on the people that joined me as instructors and joined me as participants. And for that, I am truly, truly grateful. So that's enough from me today, but I'm sending you love and light and connection. And I know that if you look into this work and you start doing it for yourself and you invite in whatever community you can muster, I know you can be well. And I wish you all the best, and I will see you next week. Okay, until then, this has been The Cure for Chronic Pain with Nicole Sachs. See you guys.